Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. I'm Akin Sowore, Omorwan.
I'm Rafai Hussein, and it's good to see you back. I'm sure you're well now.
Thank you, Rafai.
I am Shaiton Atigari. Good morning. It's good to see the both of you. Now, going straight into it, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, Serap, has urged the courts in a new suit to compel the 36 states in the country to publish the details of the amounts they have paid since 1999 to ex-governors and ex-deputy governors since return to democracy.
Very well said. The suit filed before the Federal High Court in Abuja is praying the court to order the 36 states to publish the names of the ex-governors and the ex-deputy governors in the life pension.
Now, this is coming weeks after the anti-corruption advocacy group got the Lagos Division of a Court to order the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice, Abuja Malami, to challenge various state laws permitting ex-governors and ex-deputy governors to take life pensions. Now, a law many civil rights groups have also been against. And joining us now from our Abuja studio to discuss the legal implications of this suit is Akin Sowore, a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sowore. Well, it's great to have you on the show.
Serap,
yes, Mr. Akin Sowore, great to have you. We've seen an institutional, rebuttal, institutional resistance to access to the FOI. This suit, instituted by Serap, what difference would it make this time around?
Well, actually, the Serap has the right to ask for insurance and information from the governors. Because it borders on the economy of the Nigerian state, as the governors, pay pension allowances to the former governors and deputy governors. Of course, the Senate has the power, being empowered by information of Freedom of Information Act. So it is in line of this. The governors should obey them. They should, give them the details as requested. And going to this time around, they have taken the bull by the horn by going to court to challenge it. Because if the governor refuses to, come up with the information as required, they can apply for another months, to make sure that they come with those pieces of information. So it is in line because we cannot afford to, be siphoning Nigerian, economy for frivolous things. The governors who have looted enough money, they now, cook up a law. To be paying them after they have left office. It's unfortunate, for them to have done that in favor of themselves at the expense of the Nigerian, financial economy. So it is, I'm in line with this, Serap. I think they're doing the right thing at the right time. Nigeria does not have the reason to be broke. If we only, be courageous enough to cut off all these, frivolous expenses at the expense of taxpayers, Nigerians.
Mr. Sowore,
that is the point. I think this.
Are you saying, because I would like to understand you properly, are you saying that the governor should not be entitled to pensions? Is that what you're saying?
Of course, I said the ex-governor should not be entitled to any pension. Because they, as far as we are concerned, it will amount to siphoning of the Nigerian economy. They have looted enough money to have paid them their pensions. And if that is the case, if they really want to get pension after they leave office, I think they should contribute while they are in office from their excessive, their salaries and their security votes. So I think they can contribute part of this, and they get it after they leave office, not for them to now, continue to use Nigerian, money from the various states to pay those who have looted enough at the expense of some people who have some Nigerians who are roaming about in the country, having no jobs, getting nothing from the coffers of Nigeria. Okay. I think I am saying that they should stop it, and the court should, mandate the governors to fund the Serap with all the needed information to continue the activities on that. It must be challenged.
Okay, let's just quickly get to the root of the matter. The root of the matter, initially, there was a court injunction that said that the Attorney General of the Federation, should go ahead and start, mandating across the nation an implementation as regards this topic being discussed. And secondly, a lot of people will ask and say, the role of revenue mobilization in all of this. We have not heard them, come out and speak. I think, okay, the last injunction, they did give a statement as regards that. But since then, we've not heard them in all of this. Why the governors are going ahead and fixing pensions from themselves without putting the role of revenue mobilization in all of this. And if they are public servants, why can't they follow the public retinue of fixing pension that says it has to be a contributory pension scheme?
Well, actually, that is the bone of contention in the first place, that the governor on their own fixed salary for themselves after leaving office, which does not, which is not in tandem with the statutory, office or statutory, agency that actually ought to fix that for them. Now, what we are saying is that we feel that they should not do that because that will amount to violation of, the rule, of the public service, way of getting salary. It is abnormal and it's illegal for the governor on their own to fix short salary without carrying the agency, the relevant agency involved in this matter. So we know that the money they are allocating to themselves will be too excessive. And of course, in the first place, we don't even have reason why they should get. Like in the contributive pension scheme that is being introduced, they should follow that. That's what I said earlier, that if they actually have if they want to get pension after leaving office, they should make it contributive. That is to say, from the part of their salaries and emolument while they are still in office, they should contribute that and save it for when they will leave office. And when they leave office, they will now continue to be getting that.
Akin, the part where I talked about revenue mobilization in all of this, because we're not hearing a lot. Can't the revenue mobilization, go ahead and be part of this challenge and be part of this fight? Because revenue mobilization fixes salaries across board. I mean, on the federal level anyway. But to a large extent, you want a level of accountability and you want intergovernmental agencies to come out. You want the ICPC to come out and talk about this too.
Yeah, it's true. The revenue mobilization is supposed to be the right agency, to arrange that in the first place. But what we are contending in this regard is that in the first place, they don't even need it. We don't need it. Nigeria cannot afford to pay us money. And if any governor, as they have been doing, if anybody governor is found wanting in this, act, as far as I'm concerned, they should be investigated and treated, in line with the law. The ICPC, the AFCC should come on them, should be on their trail. Because, like we are saying, the contention about it is, I think the Serap is trying to make sure that Nigerian money is not being siphoned. And because most of these things that they are doing with impunity and nobody challenges them, it's worrisome and it's in a sorry situation. So I am of the opinion that the Serap should, like they are doing, should come up with another, forcing them to produce the dictates and make sure that they take them up, with the right legal, process to make them accountable for the people. The governor cannot, because they know the incumbent governor, the state governors know quite well that if they are paying when they leave office to somebody, will come and pay them, and that is the reason why they are disobeying, the information, the act that has empowered Serap to actually, make just request. So I learned that it's only maybe Delta and Kwara State only that have complied in this, even though their compliance is not total. So I am of the opinion that they should be challenged and the Nigerians should rise against it. It should be criticized and they should, take caution and they should be accountable. Those the one that they have paid in the past, they should be accountable for it. There's no need for any governor or deputy governor to take money after they leave office. There's no basis. The entire money that they take when they are in office should be enough for them. The civil servants that are working from year 1 to 35 years, they don't have their pension, they don't get them paid as at when due. Those other areas that needed to be funded, they are not being funded. But every month they pay those people who have looted already. Tell me the governors in this state that have not looted enough. Their security votes alone. How many things are they doing with their security votes? Is there any war going on in the various states that they have to take so much security allowances like they are paying now? I'm sure that each of the governors will get nothing less than 500 million security votes in their various states, and yet there's no war going on in the various states. If we mop up all this money, we use it to do a lot of things in the educational sector and in the health sector, or to create jobs for the citizens of Nigeria. So I think it is in the right direction that the Serap is going, and we should support them and encourage them with all the entire masses should support them. So I'm in support that they should be accountable.
Yes, definitely, so, Mr. Sowore. I agree. However, let's talk about this. Serap has also seeking a declaration for the failure of these 36, now 34 states, because Kwara and Delta State have started to move forward to supply people with their pension laws and the details. Now, they have gone ahead to seek a declaration to provide them with the requested breakdown. However, if they don't do this, it comes as a breach of constitution according to the Freedom of Information Act in 2011. What are the consequences of this within the constitution?
Of course, the consequences are great. Number one, if court issue order of mandamus for them to provide the piece of information regarding that, and they fail to do that, that will amount to contempt in the first place. And the Freedom of Information Act has provided in the whole gamut of Section 1 that the Senate has the right to request for source information. And if they fail to do that, that shows that they are disobeying law. And there are consequences of anybody, the disobedience of law. So if any governor fails in this regard to publish the financial, implication of what they are paid hitherto, the person will be run foul of law. And anybody who runs foul of law will be squarely, dealt with by the law. So it's just for the Senate to invoke the right, section of law that is relevant in this matter to deal with any governor who is erring. So the Constitution too allows for freedom of information. And if by this time around that they have taken a step to go to court, if court gives an order and they violate it, it will amount to contempt. And they know what is meant when one fails to abide by the rule of the court or order of the court. It is definitely contemptuous and is committal straight away. So I think it should be this time around. As the Serap is going, it should be a case study. It should be, a governor or 36 governors of the state, or now this time around 34, they should be made this time around to face the wrath of law if they disobeyed this order, or if they fail to do what is necessary. Because the public of Nigeria has right to ask them, to ask the governor of the entire state, what they are doing with our money.
Mr. Sowore, just to put this in proper perspective for those that do not know or may not know, what Serap is asking the court to do is to order the governors to publish and list pensions of ex-governors and other officials of their state. And I'm wondering, how important is this order for an average Nigerian? What difference will it make? But I'll let you think about that question while we go on this break. We'll come back to discuss some more on this face-off between Serap and governors in Nigeria. Join us again. You're watching The Morning Show here on Arise News. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on Arise News. Akin Sowore, a legal practitioner, is still with us from our Abuja studios. Thank you so much for staying with us, Mr. Sowore. We're talking about the latest order that Serap is seeking the court to actually order state governors to publish in details the breakdown of pensions paid to ex-governors and officials of the 36 states since 1999 to 2019. And I was asking you before that break, is this just another hot air? How important is it for an average Nigerian? Because you would recall that just recently, Serap had also gotten that landmark judgment everybody praised. A court mandating the Attorney General of the Federation to challenge these state laws that permit governors and ex-officials to commit to themselves a life of largesse, even when they leave office. So how important is this for an average Nigerian?
Well, it is very, very important for every Nigerian to, get to know what we do with our money, especially in the various states, because we have a lot of challenges bordering on, the economy, the job in Nigeria, the well-being of the entire, pensioners that are actually due for pension in the civil service. So it will amount to, siphoning of our money if a governor is being paid after the governor is the governorship position is an exalted, a highly exalted, position. That ordinarily, if you live, you should be contented with what you have and leave the resources, the scarce resources available for the state, for the citizens of the state. So if you now, after a governor has been there for 80 years, taking a lot of money away, and you now, promulgate a law again to continue to pay him or her after leaving office, you know how much that will have got from the purse of the state. So in this regard, we have a lot of places to channel money, than to siphon it to a particular place. So by and large, the public of the state will benefit from the money that is, utilized very judiciously to the well-being of the people. In terms of, building industry, set up some small-scale businesses for the citizens of people. All this needs money. So if the money is being siphoned without concentrating it in those projects that will bring life to the people in the various states, you know the implication. You can imagine some graduates. You can imagine the market women that are not, being, funded by the state, which is supposed to be the educations of our, children. A lot of people have dropped out of school because they cannot afford to pay school fees, because the school fees itself is very, very exorbitant. You can look at these governors. In most of the schools, university institutions in the various states, you see them, the money is being hiked necessarily because the state wants to make much more money. But yet, they don't look at where they are siphoning money. So we should block all these leakages so that we have enough fund in the state to fund other things, health sector and all the rest. So that is the area where the citizens of the state is actually being affected.
Okay,
and if the seller can come up with this and those leakages are blocked, you can imagine, the money we have in the circulation of the state.
Okay, Akin.
The benefit of
Akin, if you can hear me. Akin, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Let's even look at, the order of the court for the Attorney General, to go ahead and challenge all of this pension across board in the states. Has anything been done as regards that? That's the first question. Second question, are there three lists as regards, the Constitution: the executive list, the concurrent list, and the residual list? The executive list, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think there are wages and salaries on this. And that's why the federal government pretty much fixed, the salaries, and the states have to, negotiate with the NLC based on the salaries fixed by the federal government. So on what list and on what backing are the state governors fixing the pension for themselves? Is it on the concurrent list or the residual list? Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Of course, we have the three tiers of government. And in the presidential system of government, we have the various federated units, of which state is one. And we have the legislator in the state that can come up with a law for the various states. But any law that is at variance with the Constitution, which is the grand norm, will be to the extent of that, be null and void. In this regard, and another thing I quickly want to point to is that any law that is at variance with the public opinion, the public policy, definitely it will be null and void. In this regard, the public interest in this matter is that the money is being siphoned unnecessarily, and they don't even have the right. Another thing is the other concurrent list or the executive or whatever you call it. I want to say that is a thing that has that has to do with the public interest, the public policy, the sovereignty of the people. And law must not be made, to support, illegality or to support corruption. So in the interpretation canons of law, law is to correct anomalies in the society, not for law to promote illegality or to promote corruption. In this regard, we should look at those various things that in the presidential system of government, of course, they have the right to make law at the state. But any law that is variant with the Constitution will be to that extent null and void. In this regard, the law is contrary to the opinions and is is at variance with the Constitution, making law that is frivolous, that will defeat the essence of the Constitution. It's no law in this regard. The other aspect that we have to look at it is the fact that this particular law is is contrary to the opinions of the people, the public interest this time around. So that's the reason why it has to be abolished, it has to be stopped, it has to be criticized. And as far as we are concerned in this country, it's a nullity. It's ultra-vires. So the state governors should look at the welfare of the people, in the public of their various states, and put that in their first priority list. Not siphoning the money, not favoring themselves, committing nepotism, doing all sorts of things that is contrary to the interest of the people generally. So in this regard, I want to tell you that it does not fall in any of this list. And as a result, it's bound to fail and it must be challenged. So I want to say that the Serap is in order, challenging it. And they have done the right thing, going to court. And I know very well that court will look at it critically and come up with justice that is that must be involved, that must be dispensed. And I know it's going to be dispensed in favor of the masses. So we cannot just be wasting the money of the masses of the various states.
Okay, Mr. Sowore, if I can come in here, I actually want to bring your attention back to the question that that Rufai had asked you earlier about whether the Attorney General of the Federation, after this landmark judgment was given out by the Federal High Court, are there what's the process? Has he started? But I know we've not gotten any feedback, as well as the fact that we know that the Freedom of Information Act has the legal binding duty to ensure that these documents that are in line with the pension laws are made available to the public as far back as 2011. This is 2020, 9 years after. Why are we just having this conversation now?
Okay, you mean the Freedom of Information Act?
Exactly, as well as the fact that there's a landmark judgment that has gone out. The Attorney General is supposed to come out and challenge these pension laws. What has he started? What's going on?
The Attorney General of the Federation, of course, has a duty as the number one law officer of the state, has a duty to adhere stricto sensu to any law that is, originated from the court in Nigeria. He's number one officer of law, to, make sure that the law stands. And as it is now, I'm very sure that if there's any court order regarding this issue in favor of, the Serap, I think what the Attorney General needs to do is to make sure that the law subsists. And I'm sure that he should do that. Anything contrary to that will amount to, judicial, radicality, which of course I don't expect from the Attorney General to actually back. If another has come, no matter how, anybody who is, involved or concerned should abide by it. And I want to say that I don't see the Attorney General, doing something otherwise. He should abide by it. And I know it will abide by it. Especially anything that borders on the public interest. It must receive, the attention, the first line attention of the state. And Attorney General, by virtue of his office, is the number one law officer in this state. So I think he should do everything to support, the efficacy of law or the order of court.
We have a situation currently where public officials are still debating legally if it is even legal to publish publicly their assets before and after taking office. They say there's nothing in the Constitution that binds them to declare publicly their assets. So how do we fix all of this when we are just asking for details and breakdown of pensions by these ex-public officials. And that brings me to the role of the state houses of assembly. Because when we saw that happen in Zamfara last year, a lot of people thought there would be a bandwagon effect with all the state houses of assembly. But that's not the case. Do you foresee resistance from the governors to this request by Serap? Should the order be granted by the court?
Yeah. If the order is granted by the court, the governor must abide.
But we've seen cases where they do not abide.
In case they don't abide?
Yes.
Okay, you mean in case they don't abide by that order? And like I said in the first place, if God gives an order and they don't abide, it will amount to contempt. And like I told you earlier, if anybody runs foul of contempt, the person will be committed to, prison, and that's what the law says straight away. So I know that some of the governors, some of them are lawyers, and some of them have, their attorney, they are state law officers who will educate them on this, that they should abide by the law stricto sensus, that whatever is proceeded from the court must be in their binding principle in their various states. So I'm sure that if an order comes and it doesn't favor them in this regard, they must obey. The Constitution, like you said about, declaring asset, is a constitutional matter. That when you take, a public office, you must declare your asset. It's part
Mr.
of.
Akin Sowore, I'd like to share your optimism, but I'll not leave my breath hanging on that. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning, Akin Sowore.